The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the #1 Contender podcast, the show where your favorite nerds talk all things movie trivia Schmoedown. I am your host, Jarod the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and I am joined by Captain Morgan, the official rum of the #1 Contender podcast. I'm kidding, we're not sponsored, but we'd love to be. We are joined by Black Leader Travis Grossman. Yep, you got that 5150 up there. Okay, glad we're starting with the, we're going to rub it in my face up top. Okay.
No, it's going to be the whole show. It sits back here. Unfortunately, I don't have a can.
Hey, you know what? We'll make do with a bottle.
We're all bottles in the house right now.
I have the Captain. That was like the Captain Morgan orange vanilla twist. And I have that mixed with a vanilla Coke. Basically, tastes like a liquefied dreamsicle. And we are joined again by Frankie Numbers himself. We got Frank Janisch of the Schmoedown Rundown.
Hello.
Hello there. Very excited. Happy to have Frank back on, especially for a big episode like this.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. Our honor, as always. Yeah. Collision 4 has come and gone. Travis and I watched it together. Had a great time watching it. I think that was some of the most fun I've had watching a Schmoedown in a hot minute. Just because it was nice to see people in the same room again. Like that was just crazy on its face.
Yeah.
You could tell just watching it. Anything that was shot in the same room, the just glee and enjoyment emanated off of everybody. Even the heels. You know, you couldn't. Okay, except for Saul. Saul scared the dog shit out of me. Like legitimately, he came through that door. Camera was like right here. I was like, "There's nothing behind those eyes."
I mean, he's an intense individual, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, very intense. I say that as a compliment. I feel like the goal is to feel like there's nothing behind those eyes. I feel like we're supposed to feel like you're a murderous movie trivia cyborg. But yeah, that was great
for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. He's great at what he does. But yeah, we have big stuff happened, guys. We're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna jump into the first match of the night, which was the Star Wars title shot. Which up top, Travis got that one right. I did not. Andrew Demolanta defended the belt. Is remaining champion, scored some very big points for the Quirky Mercs. Frank, thoughts on that very big match?
Well, I just gotta say, I was pulling for Andrew for two reasons. One, because I thought he could do it, and two, he's on my fantasy team, so I really needed those points. And boy, did he deliver big time once again. Incredible stuff. But that match was very, very interesting, entertaining. It had a lot of different elements that the Schmoedown, has from time to time. Maybe like one or two things here and there that Schmoedown, whether it's a very serious match or and maybe you have like a challenge here and like, okay, very, very tight match, very serious match. This one, this match it was very lighthearted to begin with. I mean, it was it was pretty jovial, pretty loose within that first round, and there was a couple of misses here, right? And then we got a challenge, and then Laura Kelly, capitalizes on that situation. She gets that Rogue One question, right? The years of 13, 15 years, all that. And then it kind of gets a little bit more serious as the match keeps going, and she looked like she was somewhat, I want to say in command, but she had like a lead, right? And then speed round comes, and now the momentum starts shifting, and Andrew Demolanta ends up winning the match, defending the belt. There was a lot going on in that match, and that's one of the best things about the Star Wars division is there's really, as much as we think it's always going to go one way, whoever misses first is going to lose. That might be true for 3-round matches for the most part. When you get into these 5-round formats, the betting round, the speed round, whether it's a fast money or a buzzer round situation,
anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Allows for more random things to happen, more dynamic within the match. And while I think personally, when you look at the fast money situation, it doesn't allow for as much opportunity for a comeback situation as opposed to a buzzer round situation where it's 1v1, right? Straight head up on those questions. You can from time to time get a situation that Laura found herself in, and if you do fumble the ball in that situation, you can give up a lead, or you can further fall back. In Andrew Demolanta's case, you can find himself in a comeback situation with some points going up ahead against Laura Kelly. So a lot of different moving parts in this match. Very enjoyable. They all weren't perfect robotic answer machines, which is okay for me. I know people love to see perfection time in and time out. I prefer a little more humanness to my Star Wars competitors, where they're a little bit more vulnerable after a miss. I like to see how players rebound after a miss, and we got that, and so it was good to see, and it really, I think, tested both of their mettle in this match, and Andrew Demolanta just happened to be a little bit better on that day.
Yeah, I want to talk about the speed round, and Travis does not agree with me on this.
Okay.
I don't.
And I want to say up top before I say anything, this is not a criticism on the writing team or any of the production stuff, because it's a damn good question. I feel like the director's question would be a better betting round question than a speed round question. I feel like, because they've say that question got asked in round 1 or in a normal 3-round match.
Yeah.
In any of those rounds, that would probably have the caveat of you will be given 20 seconds.
Perhaps, perhaps, yeah.
And there was just something about the metal of that question that I was like, that's a lot in the speed round. When you're just frantically trying to remember who Boba Fett is in the moment, where it's okay, we got Baby Fett, and then we got 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool. And immediately, how many individual live-action directors? Phenomenal question. I don't feel like it belonged in the speed round, but that's just me.
And my counter to that is, again, we talked about this day of, that when you think of that question, you personally, when you answer that question, you name the directors. And that's what slows you down. I don't know all the directors. I just go, Lucas did 4 of them. 2 others weren't him. 2 for the sequels and 2 for the others.
Good way to go about it, yeah.
And that's just something you have to prepare for. Yeah, and I think there's the speed round, as it is in the digital format, tends to have that one, you're going to pass on this question.
Sure.
Question, right? And I think that the whole match felt amped up in difficulty. There were 2 perfect round breakers in round 1. Round 2 felt rough for both of them. Not that they did bad, but the questions seemed harder. So they had 2 in the speed round that were hey, here's a listicle. Have fun.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to that director type of question, how many directors, there's questions like that in Inner Geekdom where players are prepared for how many movies has Nick Fury been in, right? And they can rattle that off. They don't have to count, go this one, this one. They just know that number. And I think going forward, Star Wars players are going to look at that question and go, all right, I need to know how many of this, how many movies is C-3PO in, right? R2-D2, right? Number questions like that, you're just going to have to know what that number is, because if it does happen in a speed round situation, you can count them out, but it might trickle off a few more seconds than you would like to.
Yeah.
And so I think this match and previous Star Wars matches have set the bar for where these questions are going. And unfortunately, Laura Kelly and Andrew Demolanta were the guinea pigs, if you will, in this situation. So it's something I think I'm going to keep an eye on just to see, especially when we get to the next Star Wars title match and see what happens there. And then obviously at Spectacular, where we're at then. So.
Yeah, and again, like then the speed round was incredible, and I do like those, like, you know, how many movies was Nick Fury in type questions, and like the Boba Fett one's great. The Boba Fett one, you like, it's kind of a trick question because okay, are you going to remember Baby Fett? Are you going to remember Daniel Logan?
Right.
Or are you just going to go, you know, cool guy in the green suit?
I actually couldn't remember if he made some sort of brief appearance in a Clone Wars movie, and that's where I was like, I don't know, but because like obviously he was in Clone Wars, but I was like, did they pop him in there real quick in Clone Wars? Because that's obviously a movie that I do not watch on the regular. So it's like,
no, I
For
can't
me,
imagine.
I couldn't
why.
remember if he was in Solo or Rogue One. I knew he wasn't in Rogue One. I couldn't remember if he was in Solo at all.
oh sure.
Well, I remember whenever I said, because I said 4, and you were like, well, what's the 4th? I said A New Hope.
Because
And I was like, assuming they're going off of the special editions. Or I'm like, because if they're not, then it's 3. And I don't know. Like, we did a whole episode about the rule book. I don't know if at any point in the rule book they specified stuff about the special editions, because that could be a whole avenue of challenge.
There's a list in Intergeek of movies, and so in that list, I would think
I'm sure they
it
clarify.
would be noted, be like, look, it is a special editions, whatever. Like the most recent release on that movie which is basically on Disney Plus, basically, especially for New Hope, right? So the newest release of those movies are the ones that they're going off because they have the most of all the canon, right? And so because like you could ask about McClunky like now, right?
I was just about to say, PJ Campbell, you better get a McClunky question in there, goddammit.
But like you would have to know that you're going up to Disney Plus version, not the Blu-ray box set that I got, right? It's not in that version. So you got to be. So yeah, I'm sure they would note, specify, especially if you're a Star Wars competitor. You're going to know, what versions you're talking about.
But what you were saying with the difficulty, and Travis and I said this while we were watching it, like this is the hardest Star Wars match I think I've ever seen. Like this was just a different animal, and you were saying guinea pigs for what have you. Like if that's, I'm assuming like the difficulty was cranked up because it's a title match,
right?
But like that final question, like the pilots of the Radiant 7. Like I just started.
It's a great question, but it's also one I do expect elite Star Wars players to know. It's not. It's but you have had to have done the work, and it's not hard to do the work for that one. But you have to have done the work.
Yeah, I think it's one of those like. They go in a weird way. I don't know how quite to put this, and hopefully this makes sense. Like a question that like. It's a great showing on the writing team of they thought to ask it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Kind of thing. Because I honked with laughter.
I saw Alex Damon in the chat, like, great question. Love that question. It is a great question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just like that. That's incredible. Like, that's all I got is wow. Whenever we were camping, Mike Doling brought his book of it was like, or Levi, I think it was, this like big book of Star Wars trivia, and like we were like reading through it, and like Travis and I were like periodically like, okay, that's a 5-pointer, that's a 5-pointer, that's a 5.
Yeah. How tall in meters is?
Yeah.
Oh my lord, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, like ridiculous shit like that. It was like that was just a phenomenal match. Like I said, I went in there. Listeners know, but pulling for Laura Kelly. Both because strategically it would keep the Quirky Mercs off of Corruption's ass.
They're not on Corruption's ass. They're at the top, baby.
I mean, they were there. They were there, but now they are not.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you're right. Dungeon went up today, actually. Yeah. I am buying this shirt.
Yeah.
By the way,
I think that thing's gonna sell pretty well. I believe so.
Yeah, Travis is gonna be like the shirt, the hoodie, the tank top, the hat, the sticker, the phone case.
I've seen the design for it. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's gonna be it's a very fun shirt. Yeah.
I like it a lot. That's something that I would even consider getting just because I respect the hell out of them. And I'm not going to show for corruption this entire episode. Holy Christ!
Not much to shill for, I got to tell you.
No, not from this collision. I can't say you're wrong.
Yeah.
Marisol, you made us proud.
Yeah.
But
I love taking shots at corruption because they play along well with it. So
that's why I like them too.
Yeah.
Because people take pot shots at them and they play along. Well.
There's something about listening to Kalinowski every time go, you all doubted me. And I'm like, no, I didn't.
You didn't. Those polls, though. Those polls tell a different story.
I'll root against him, but I know he's probably going to win.
Right. Exactly. That is the difference. Yeah.
I like that.
I will say this was a very weird Star Wars Championship not having Alex Damon.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah,
that,
very weird. Yeah.
The concept that I think they both went in knowing I can miss and be okay.
Yeah.
I think that was very evident because we've talked about this since the start of the season, right? When Damon's in the champion seat, the thing most people get in their heads about, it seems, is once I miss, I lose. Once I've made the first miss, I can't recover. He's gonna outpace me in points, and I'm just gonna falter. And neither one of them seemed to really, like, even in the final round, Laura Kelly's down by 3 and not batting an eye. She's like, yeah, no problem. He can miss his 3. I got this. He can miss his 5. I can,
I think and that's also how the division is. The players have learned how the division is shaping up, is that if I just have to get to the 5s. And obviously you want to be in the position where you answer it and you win it, as opposed to I answer it, then I gotta hope they miss theirs, right? So there's two different situations you want. There's one more preferable situation to be in, obviously, but as long as go ahead.
The strategic much as it can be is to try to make them answer their 5 first.
Right. But as long as you can get to that 5, you go, well, it's more of a 50-50 shot. That way, and we'll just see what happens. Whether or not you're in the driver's seat of that situation, that's to be determined throughout the course of the match. But as long as you get to that position, because anything can happen, these riders are really up in their game, especially for title matches. So you got to feel pretty good whether or not you just to get to that spot, because it really does ultimately most times come down to that. And the way these questions are going to be structured, especially the 5s, 3s, 5s, anything could happen. You just really got to be in your A game, and most of the time, all of these players are.
As I've always, granted, obviously Star Wars is going to be my favorite division because it's my favorite thing ever.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for this Star Wars tournament. Like it's just going to be
that bracket is
on and
nutty.
popping.
It is just nutty. The bracket. Oh my Lord!
Yeah, both versions.
Yes, it's just. I said it. I was on POV the other day. I was like, it's cruel and unusual punishment for fans. Like, there's like the combinations that we could get from either version are just like, oh my God! Like, yeah. Laura Kelly, we could see her face Gold Leader. Like, that's kind of a dream matchup for me. I mean, whether or not we'll get it, remains to be seen. But there's stuff like that. I mean, obviously you get the Alex Damon, Molly Damon matchup. Whatever version, that's going to happen. The league made sure that one's going to happen no matter what. But Nikki Demolanta
will cause a divorce this season. Damn it!
Right. It's war after all.
Well, I really hope, because fans of theirs, they do it at like the Q&A table where they do their like weekly Q&A videos, because there's enough room for them to do it in the same space and just kind of just have their whiteboards. Like, I'm just saying, granted, on the editing side of things, that probably I don't know like what templates are used and how the shows are edited.
Yeah, there would have to be a different template probably for that. I don't want to take too much work, but they can figure it out. I think. I
just think it'd be funny if they did it that way. I would get a chuckle if they just plop down. They're on the same screen. They're not pretending. You're not pretending. Like, we know they live together, right? But do it from 2 separate rooms for no reason. Yeah. Moving forward, Amaru Moses, the Silent Assassin, finally got a nickname for him, which I didn't realize we didn't have a nickname for him.
Yeah, I think there was going to be one early on, but then I think decided against it, and I think they wanted to figure it out. And then I was talking to Amaru, and I guess it was born out of his match against Moose, where Ellis called him the Silent Assassin, and so come Collision time, dub the Silent Assassin.
That was another one. That one surprised me. Travis and I, we both had Moses on our little confidence card doodads.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had Saul. Well, he's also on my fantasy team, so But I also thought he could do it for sure. So
yeah, mm-hmm. I think this is an example of there's the I don't want to necessarily say the unfortunate thing is that, though it's like a fault of the game, because it's not a bug, it's a feature, right, that sometimes matches come down to a little bit of luck.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think Saul hit a rough patch. Like we've seen him, we've seen him put people in the dirt this season. Putting those big KOs up. Like, there's nothing against, Moses' performance. He killed it. Like, he's championship material. No two ways about it. I think a good portion of like Saul's underperformance was him being, the trivia gods just did not smile on him that day.
Yeah.
Now again, for him to get TKO'd, it requires Amaru to just kill it on his side. Like, that doesn't happen by accident. Like, to get that TKO or KO, you have to have enough of a lead that you're fine. But yeah, you were saying.
I was, I'm not surprised or completely, thrown by the result that Amaru won. I am a little bit thrown that it was a TKO. That's the decision, right? Because obviously, while I was leaning Saul, I was like, Amaru could certainly win. Didn't think either would win by TKO or KO or anything like that. But coming out of in that match though, when Saul instantly takes Planet of the Apes, I go, that's a lot of movies, a lot of different versions, and he took it really quickly. And I go, all right, he must feel really good about this. And so therefore, as someone who had picked him to win, I was like, man, I feel great about him feeling great about this category. And then he gets that first question, and he just boom, it hit him. And I think that this is one of the things we're always talking about now, as of late, as we move from digital matches into studio matches again, or at least the ones that we're able to do in studio now, is how are these first-time players, especially, because I think it can still affect veteran players of the format, but especially these rookie players to the studio format. Saul's in his second year, but rookie to the studio format, how is he going to deal with the oohs and the ahs and the dang, or how's he going to react to the applause even? How does one, deal with those ups and downs from the crowd and throughout the game? It's in real time. Everyone's watching. You can see people watching you. It's not just people, on a computer screen anymore. It's real physical people in the same space, that occupy your space. And how do you feed off that energy? Do you deflect it? Do you absorb it? What do you do with it? And I felt like in the moment there in that studio, when he gets that first question and he can't pull it, it's hard to explain if you've never experienced it yourself. It doesn't even have to be a Schmoedown type of thing. Just if you've ever been in a group setting or even a competitive setting and something doesn't go right for someone, you can just kind of feel a shift in the air. You can't really quite explain it, but you just feel something happen, and I feel like that was coming off of Saul. Like, not to get so like aura type of things, but like the energy was just like boom, and you go, oh man, he's in trouble. I don't know how the rest of this round's gonna go, because right now, based on how the room feels, does not feel like it's in his favor, and he struggled that round, and it was never really able to recover from that. He had missed a couple in that first round, and I thought, yeah, all right, you're gonna miss a couple, yeah, fine. that second round, especially when he displays that type of confidence, and then it's the first question, and you lay a goose egg, and it's like, oh no, and he also plays a part where he's very much, he's somewhat in your face, and like, this is what I'm going to do as a matter of fact, and it's hard to keep that up, and when you miss a question, or when you falter like that, because then I suspect one might feel kind of foolish in the moment. So you're dealing with that. You're dealing with the fact that you're down. You just missed a question. You're in front of everybody now, feeling like you might look like a fool for the way you've comported yourself, even though none of us were really thinking that, because like, you're playing a part. So there's a lot of different elements, I think, that could have possibly been in play for him. I don't know for sure. I know he did tweet out how he felt about the match afterwards and everything like that, and what he plans to do going forward, but it was just a reminder, I think, to everyone in that room of, and I think it should serve as somewhat of a point of learning for every other rookie out there who hasn't experienced a studio match, to go try and prepare for this, because this will probably inevitably happen to you at some point. Try and prepare for this, because as best you can. I don't know how you would, but this can happen to you, and Saul got it right there. It's the first studio match that we're taping, and he's got to deal with this wave of emotion, I think. And Amaru, he looked very comfortable in that setting. That's also just due to his personality and the way he comports himself normally, right? And I'm sure Saul felt fine too, but he's also playing a part, and it just, was a confluence of events that kind of just stacked up against him, and it was, you go, dang, TKO, because there's more. I mean, I want to hear your guys' thoughts, obviously, but this is his second match ever where he's gotten to the final round, and he's lost both of those matches, Brandon Hanna and now Amaru, where he's had to go to the final round, and he's lost those matches because Greg and John, he's able to knock him out second round, didn't have to deal with those final round questions, and now he's got Saul's got Brandon Hanna again in the tournament. He's gonna go to a third round, and so we'll see what happens, how he plays that final round.
Dare I say it? It's Smets-ish.
I was literally about to say that. It's a very Smets strategy of, I'm going to come in hard and fast, put you at a huge deficit, and make you just feel uncozy and not be able to recover. And when you go for that and you can't quite follow through in the round, like round 2 is really important for that. You got to make sure you can get a perfect round 2 every time. It's really difficult, like the first match we saw Smets lose was, I think, the first match he went to round 3.
Yep.
Against Kalinowski.
It was.
Yeah. But I will say real quick, I can see the comparison there in terms of like the approach. The level of play, I think there is a gap there between Smets of that time and Saul, right? Yeah. Because like, Smets,
that's a different division.
He just flipped words, right? Or he just flipped a name.
Yeah.
Like you could obviously tell he knew it, but he just got lost in that moment, right? Whereas Saul just blanked, or he couldn't pull. Maybe he didn't know the answer, but he just completely blanked there. And so I think the approach is somewhat comparable. I can get that. But
yeah.
Real quick, the tweet you were referring to quote it directly, quote, "If you thought I took this too seriously before, prepare for further disappointment. You deserve a better Schmoedown, and I'm going to give it to you, whether I like it or not. New Saul show coming soon." Was his thoughts post his defeat.
Yeah. Who's his round 1 opponent in the tournament? I don't remember.
Brandon Hanna.
Oh yeah, right. It's
again. So we're going with that story, which is fine, because I think that's going to be a great matchup. It was the first time, and I think Brandon hasn't had the type of season that he would have liked to have had up to this point, but now he's going to get to play Saul, where I think they are evenly matched, even though Brandon might disagree. He might think he's better, and Saul might think he's better as well than Brandon. So it's going to be a great match, and I know they're going to give us a hell of a show with that one for sure.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. This is a great match. Sorry, Trevi.
I will also say, impressed at the minor flex of Amaru to hit Spinner's Choice and go with the category no one seems to like is very new and very broad and get a perfect round 2.
Yeah.
That scared me. That was terrifying of the because he hit Spinner's Choice and I'm like, he's going to go Marvel. He's going to go, I don't even remember what was on the wheel. He's going to go one of the old Inner Geekdom slices.
Sure.
That seems to be, that's everyone's strength. He goes, no. Graphic novels. Excuse me?
Yeah.
And just, I did not know a single movie he answered on that entire thing, and he slammed it out of the water. I was very impressed.
What I thought was really funny was listening to the Rundown episode you did, Frank.
Yeah.
Where like the audience reaction, where somebody in the crowd when he did that went, "Oh."
Yeah.
You know,
like, dang.
Like,
oh, shoot. All right.
Like the fact that Travis and I sitting in the very room he's in right now just went, oh.
Yeah.
It's the, I think it was Parker mentioned in a match that the dungeon had been training in swashbuckling.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's the same deal. You know, hit those new categories really hard, you get to throw people off.
Yeah.
I think that's really smart. Really smart. Sam Levine, whoever's choice it was, you know, whether it was Amaru's or Sam Levine's, really smart choice.
Well, I think if you also pay attention to Amaru and how he talks about Schmoedown, and you know, he's much more than just like an Inner Geekdom player. I mean, he loves just all movies. He wasn't always or always has been locked into that one stream of type of movie. He's a guy that really loves all movies, and graphic novels. I think there's probably a lot of people out there have probably seen a movie that's based off a graphic novel that they don't even know was based off a graphic novel, right? So, it can reach a broader audience just on pure accident, you know, if you will. But I think like going off of that, Amaru, I think he just loves movies in general. So because I remember he's talking about playing along with other matches, you know, and he's doing fairly all right, you know, in those first rounds and stuff like that. So, and that's just, and I think all Inner Geekdom players are like that to certain degrees. You know, especially with the infusion of these other categories and newer movies, right?
When they made the big switch, we were talking about it, and we're like, this is either going to catastrophically not end careers, but like adjust careers heavily of our franchise players, or what we are seeing is these guys are just crushing it because they just love movies, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at
also a third point to that actually, real quick, is it could allow someone else previously not Inner Geekdom to reconsider
to have an avenue in.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get there this week. That is terrifying. I am so scared of heroin in Inner Geekdom.
Yeah.
But you know, we look at Kalinowski, where the place that he like really shined, aside from DC, was the one-off movies. Like, you know, a question about the Rocketeer, the question about the Phantom, where he's like, I know it, yeah. And now those are whole categories. Now he has whole categories open to him. So he goes from being a top-tier player to a topper-tier player.
Right, because like once upon a time, I think there was a contingent of players that were like, when they're talking about Chandra, they're like, if you could get those Phantom, you know, those Rocketeer questions, if you can get that category, you know, oh, you probably got a shot against him. But now everyone's been forced to
stand
look
a chance
at all
in the
of
division
those,
period.
You know? Yeah. And so, and I think early on, I was like, the infusion of all these newer movies, I thought for sure would benefit someone like Apollo Yama, a Chance Ellison, who are really great at those stuff to begin with, and and Apollo Yama just kind of someone got into Inner Geekdom, Chance as well, and I was like, well, when you bring in all those other franchises, things that I know these guys like, especially Chance, I was like, this benefits him more than anybody, I feel like, and really anybody else who felt like, you know, I would never do Inner Geekdom, but maybe I could play a match or two. And when we had Bibiani on the Rundown, I asked him, like, hey, you think you could hang in this division now that you have all these other movies in there? And he's like, I could probably win a match or two. And that's the interesting aspect, because it does open up just a little bit more to you know, maybe another 10, 12 players to even consider. Before they were like, nah, not at all. But now they would go, maybe I could, maybe I'd give one match a shot. and that's exciting, you know.
Well, talking about like those little things, that was one of the things I said that like kind of made Alex Damon specifically like a good fit for Inner Geekdom. We're in the same way where Mike had those pulls on, oh, well, I have this random ass movie from the 90s, you know, like I can hit you with the Phantom, you know, and throw down with that. But like Damon has that, you know, what, like Star Wars is this boogeyman in the Schmoedown because people watch a Star Wars match and they go, oh, like, you know, going back to the 5-pointer that won Demolanta helped him defend his belt. You know, like you have people go, I don't even know what the Radiant 7 was. What ship
Right.
was that?
Yeah.
You know, you have someone like Alex Damon, they'll hit Spinner's Choice and go, oh yeah, I want Star Wars. I want in the category that scares the bejesus out of everybody. Because you don't know if you're going to get what color is Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, or if you're going to get what's the name of the guy that greets Obi-Wan Kenobi on Utapau. You know, you don't know what you're going to get there. And I think on a similar level, there's something there. And again, as the diehard Star Wars fan that I am, like I love watching IG players deal with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Just because like IG Star Wars is its own flavor, where it's like kind of the middle ground between like Radiant 7 bullshit and like
Sure.
lower tier
and like coaxium, you know, like
yeah, coaxium. Yeah, it's that's a great example. With regards to Mr. Moses's next opponent, whom do we think it will be, and whom do we want it to be? I'll pitch to you first, Frank.
Oh, this is...
Or maybe
oh,
those
man.
two things are the same thing.
They might be. I don't know. All I know is I am super hyped for that Mike Chandru match. That's going down at the Scum and Villainy Cantina August 14th, which I think there are just a few tickets left for that. So if you're able to get down to that area in LA, you're going to see that in like 3 other matches being taped that day at the Cantina.
Travis, you think you can get off that day?
I think I am. I'm off that day. It's just that we have a convention to go to.
Oh, son of a bitch! You're right. That's so silly. I was doing a bit, and, like completely forgot.
Yeah, and then I remembered. Wait a minute.
We actually are doing something that day. Don't mind us accidentally making plans on air again, because that's just what we do around here.
Yeah. But who do I think is going to win that match? I really don't know. I think it's going to be Chandru. And
Frank,
think it's
thank
going
you
to
so much for coming on. It's been a blast having you here.
But here's why I think it's going to be Chandru, and I think it's because of the speed round. I think that's ultimately what's going to separate both of them. And I'll tell you this, and I haven't said this anywhere else yet, but when I was at the taping for the Cantina matches, after everything had wrapped up basically, and the crew's wrapping up and cleaning everything up, Chandru was over at a table with the buzzers, and he was, I'm not going to name the other players that were around him, but he was there like, hey, ask me some Inner Geekdom questions, right? And I will tell you this, though. There was 3 other players around him, all 3 from different factions. Everyone, all 4 of them there, Chandru included, all from different factions. I'll just say that. And they were just trying to come up with on-the-spot Inner Geekdom questions. And Chandru, boom, 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 boom. Now, were those other 3 players Inner Geekdom players? I don't know. Were they? But the fact is, I know Chandru is, I think, going to be, he's never played on the buzzers, but I think he's going to be really good on those buzzers. And I know Mike has a ton of experience with those buzzers, right? He just had it at Collision, right? So, but, I mean, you saw how he played against, what was it, when he played against Rachel, right? Both times for the belt, you know? That was kind of like his saving grace to stay within it, you know?
I was about to say that. I was like, you know, That
will say
win at
this.
San Diego was the buzzers. That was all of the buzzers.
I'll say this, and Rachel will be the first to tell you, she was never great on the buzzers either. So do you look at that and go, oh, Mike's great at the buzzers? Or because you have to look at, who was on the other side of him, and it was Rachel, and even she will concede, like, that was never her forte. So do I think in some weird way Chandru, without any way to, like, measure this, do I think Chandru is better on the buzzers than Rachel is? Somehow, I think that's true. Does that mean Mike is still going to be better than Chandru? Or does that mean Chandru's going to be better than Mike? I don't know, but I do have this feeling that Chandru is going to be slightly better than Mike, whether it's a 3-2 split or what have you. I don't know. It might actually go 2-2. They might throw some weird interjecting question in there when neither of them take a shot at it. I mean, there could be a weird scenario like that. But I think if you just look at that betting round in a vacuum,
I would be surprised if that happens. I feel like Chandru's play style is way too aggressive to just leave a point out there.
That's true. That's true. And I mean, we kind of almost saw that with the Corruption Shazam match, where that one question where eventually Chance did buzz in on it. I forget which one that was exactly, but so it could be something like that between Mike and Chance. So I am gonna go Chandru ever so slightly. It's not a confidence pick, 1 point. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Travis, who do you think he's facing?
I know who I want him to be facing. I think
we're giving you a great choice. You can troll me, or
the person I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick Kalinowski.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. Number one, he now has a new, like, he's back in studio for a match. Just doing it once, getting the rust off, feeling what it's like to be in there again, getting an audience in front of you, right? Like, that's big. Chandru barely played in studio to begin with. I think he had a total of 5 in studio matches,
something like that. Yeah, I mean, he did play a number one contender against Smets, right? So he's been in a bit of a bigger situation before, but not a title match,
But not a title match, and not live. Like, well, I mean,
not live.
Audience,
I mean,
yeah.
Audience, yeah.
So I think Mike's got the upper edge there. The big thing is whether or not I think Chandru will be able to get into Mike's head. That's his play. I'm gonna kind of rub it in that you missed a question, which I think might have been easier to do digitally, because they're in this kind of scenario where everyone can hear everyone at the same volume. And if I say something in the middle of a question, like if Jarod and I are playing and Jarod misses and I go, "How you missed that question," versus if I'm in a studio and I'm facing this way and they're facing this way and I have to look over and go, "You missed it."
Well, I will tell you though, if you've ever seen a Batman Fat Man episode where they film those episodes in the cantina, and so where Mark Bernard and Kevin Smith are standing, that's where the competitors are. That's like the exact setup. So it's pretty. So they're pretty close together. Okay. So they're gonna hear, and not to mention over the speaker, you can hear when they answer as well. So if they speak into the mic or don't, the other player is gonna hear it. And I think Chandru's also one of these rare players where he can, even if he's like down by a point or two or something like that, which could happen here. I don't still think he's adverse to throwing a jab.
Mike, absolutely not.
Right, so I mean that's still his brand of game that actually works for him, and it's going to be. I mean, I said I think it's going to be Chandru, but I do want it to be Mike who faces Amaru Moses. Oh yeah, so yeah, we'll see.
I mean, I'll answer the question.
It's your show,
Jarod. Who do you want to win? Looks at shirt.
Right.
Looks at shirt, looks at favorite player of all time. Yeah. I mean, I want it to be Mike because that means Mike still has the belt, and I want him to beat Moses because that means he keeps the belt. I think everything you guys have said is accurate. I do think he's in danger against Chandru. I do think, he's a different beast. Like Chandru, he's a force of nature, whether you like him or not. Like, he is, you know, no, you know, he's made the decision that he wants to be a heel. He wants to be a villain in this league. And I think that, like, he truly is, like, a Schmoedown supervillain. Like, he is a force of nature. Like, if you want to talk comic books, like, it's a big deal when he shows up. You know, like when you reach that moment where it's like, oh, the big bad here is a Doom or a Magneto or a Joker or a Thanos or a Ra's al Ghul. Like, if like it's one of those, like, oh, like, these are one of those characters. These are one of those villains who, when you put your hero against them, no one's getting out in one piece. And yet he's just good at that. You know, like, we talk all the time on here. You know, I wish we could make merch of it, but between the swear and it being another man's name, I don't think we could. But, like, Chandru has his own version of the Ben Bateman Moneyball bullshit. You know, yeah. And, like, I can't think of another player who's, like, as good at straight up psychological warfare. You know, it's the joke that Travis and I make all the time. It's like, I legitimately can't tell if people dislike this guy, because he is so good at bringing that out of people. You know, like the way, he just run his mouth in a way that gets under people's skin. And again, like, either that is like, either he is the best at kayfabe I have ever seen, and people are really good at bouncing off of him, or he legitimately makes people angry. And I don't want to say this as, like, an insult to KO, because, like I said, he's my favorite player of all time. One of his greatest strengths is his passion for this game. We've seen that man cry real ass tears after victories. That kind of love, that kind of passion in the hands of, I don't mean this as an insult, Mr. Dondapani, a sociopath like Chandru. Like that, like he could really just kind of, like, judo Mike's biggest strength back onto him. And I think there's a legitimate concern for that. Like, I look forward to seeing them go to blows, because I want to see if Mike, I want to see him stay in control of that situation, because I think it becomes even more interesting of a matchup if Mike is able to know Chandru's shit talk. And I think that is going to be a big factor, because I can't imagine being as earnestly and honestly invested in this game as Mike is, and Chandru not be able to shake that in some way, and get in his head. And I think that's what's going to make, I mean, it's going to be great TV, you know, even better if he wins, in my opinion. But yeah, that's where I am at on that one.
And this is a match it's a long time coming. They were looking to play last year, and that didn't happen. And you could say, well, did Mike duck Chandru? And there's that whole narrative, right? And the match is happening, and you can't stop it. It's happening, and it's for the belt. And you know, there's a lot going into this one for sure. Even though they've never played each other, there's just a lot of drama surrounding both of them, tied together, stemming from last year, of what could have happened. You know, Mike decided to go into the tournament rather than play Chandru, right? And so there's a lot of that. There's fallout from that, and you know, Chandru's been nipping at Mike's heels for a while now, and now he's got his shot against him.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping my boy comes off the top rope on him. You know, like I said, Chandru, like, I love him, like, phenomenal player, and assuming that's a character, love the character. But part of loving that character is loving to see that kind of person get punched in the mouth, you know?
Sure, yeah, sure.
And that's what I'm hoping happens. Oh God, now I'm all worked up for the 14th. Like, we're gonna be at Comic-Con, and I'm just gonna periodically look at Travis and be like, "You think they're playing yet? Do you think someone's won yet?"
It's gonna be great.
Just reached in my head like I feel a disturbance in the corruption.
Right.
Oh God, he got Transformers. This is a 5-pointer.
Okay. Moving along, we have Marisol Mckee versus Kevin Smith. I wish she were not incapacitated from her current lack of teeth, because I wish we could have Lexi on to talk about this one, because watching her watch this match was probably might have been the highlight of the evening for myself, probably Travis. Yeah. So background for both Frank and anyone at home. Obviously, Lexi keeps up with the Schmoedown in a very tertiary way, kind of by proxy of Travis and I. Is not super familiar with Kevin Smith. She knew who he was, but didn't know why she knew who that was.
That's Kevin Smith, yeah.
Yeah, and then we were like, okay, imagine him like a lot bigger, like wearing a suit over a hockey jersey. She's like, oh, that guy. I'm like, yeah, him. He was just so goddamn entertaining to watch. And Travis and I, we bet on the same person on this one. We were both right.
I kind of wish I wasn't, though.
I know you.
So like we were talking about it last week, and I'm like, yeah, if Greg and John study the way of the Drunken Master, Kevin Smith is the Drunken Master.
Yeah,
we're like, he's just so knowledgeable that he can get away with not really knowing the game. And then through the, especially through that first round, that was like, okay, Marisol's got this on lock. We called it right. Whatever. We get to round 3, and he's only down by a point. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, he can do this. He can get there. He didn't, but I thought he was going to do it.
He was in striking distance. He was in striking distance, winning it. And you can't take that away from him. It was really entertaining. Marisol McKee's become one of my favorite players. Like, beyond like corruption shilling, she's just so fun to watch. Like, she is just so in control of herself. Like there's just that like focused energy that is Marisol McKee. Just love watching her play. I love watching her do her thing. I with regards to Kevin, I made the joke when we were watching it, when I looked at the wheel and I saw Matt and Ben on there. I was like, oh, Kevin's going to give Matt and Ben. And the first question was a question that Kevin Smith, about a movie that Kevin Smith was in.
Yeah.
Hey, you can't help it, they're buds. It happens. I had my little inner geekdom flex where I was like, yeah, he plays a coroner named Jack Kirby in Daredevil. Horrible movie, but I love it. It's guilty pleasure. Now I want to watch it because now I'm just thinking about Colin Farrell. Bullseye.
Oh my gosh.
It's phenomenal. It's a scenery chewing at its finest. But no, yeah, it was just a great match. He was entertaining to watch. Watching somebody who's, again, not watched Kevin Smith do his bullshit.
Yeah.
Like having this shit, like the joke I made was like, people talk about having resting bitch face. Like Kevin Smith has like resting goof face.
Sure.
Where just like his default is to just like buggy eyed at the camera, like he's trying to make you laugh. But yeah, no, it was a great match. Frank, your thoughts on this match, because I think that's all Travis and I pretty much have, is that we were thoroughly entertained by it, but not
by it. I was thoroughly entertained as well, and the entertaining parts. If you looked at the chat at the time of the match going on, some folks were not entertained by the Cate Blanchett stuff, the Gene Wilder, Gene Hackman stuff, the Scream or Scary Movie 3 stuff.
I've seen a lot of discourse about the Scary Movie thing.
There's been a lot of discourse about that stuff, and
I missed the discourse on the Scary Movie Scream thing completely.
Oh yeah, man, it was.
I did not see any of that.
Oh, people were just like, don't have him back in the league. He disrespects the game. I'm like, oh, relax, people. It's just a game, first of all.
Okay.
So
if anybody's going to actually say that about Kevin Smith, I have 2 words for you: Josh McCouga.
Right.
Like
100% correct. Like,
I say that lovingly, you know.
yes.
Like, I love Makuga, you know, Pittsburgh, you know, represent, but like, come on.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah, but this match, I thought, you know, Marisol's in a big spot here because she's playing with expectations to win, right? Like, everyone's expecting you to win, and you're playing Kevin Smith, you know, and so there's a lot there, and I thought she handled the moment, the situation really well. She played really well, and yeah, Kevin Smith down by a point. He could have, I mean, like, if he writes Kate Blanchett and it's a tied game, you know, like, like
You're
it's
exactly
that
right.
close, you know, so, but he didn't. If he writes Gene Hackman, right, he's got a lead, but he didn't. But also, you know, we can do a whole lot of what ifs, right? But I think outside of the Scary Movie 3 stuff and whether or not Christian called the match too early or not, you know, people want to talk about, oh, well, he could have challenged that, you know, and he didn't have a challenge because he wasted on the Kate Blanchett thing, and it's like the two things that, you know, that looks like as if they could have challenged, they were never going to win those challenges. I mean, the rule is in the first round, you write the full name, right? You write down your answer and you verbalize it. Kate is not a whole answer. That's, you know, you need Kate Blanchett. And although I did love the aspect that, or the counter from Coy of like, name another Kate in Hollywood. And I'm like, oh, actually, that's a good point. However, the rule is you got to write Kate Blanchett. You got to write the full name. So,
separate from the match, like before we had watched it, because we didn't get a chance to watch it live, we watched it afterwards. In the Facebook group, I had seen like without reference or whatever, and it was just famous Kates and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, oh boy.
No, yeah. But outside all that stuff, which, you know, I don't get bogged down with, you know, oh, this, you know, they're rigging. They're not, you know, it's everything still. What they did was they took a situation and made the best out of it.
That is such
and
a
ran with it.
Severe thing to levy. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't like it, that's one thing, but like, let's be real careful with when we throw the word rigged around.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that's
or that
obscene.
people were saying that maybe he threw the game, you know. It's like, I mean, look, if you've watched his previous matches, he didn't play any differently here than he has in his past matches. This is you know, and you can say, oh, I wish you would know the game better. Like, oh, but you know what, he doesn't, and he was still 3-0. So
Yeah.
what were you expecting here? Like, all of a sudden for him to be a completely different type of player? Like, no, I mean, not everyone is going to dedicate X amount of hours, you know, the way that, you know, Bateman or Merle or Ethan Irwin or any of these, Mike Kalinowski, he's not automatically going to dedicate that much time to the Schmoedown. I think that should be obvious to people based on his profession and how successful he is at doing what he does outside of the Schmoedown. So the fact that he was able to get to this point just off of just raw knowledge and the way that he is, he wasn't anybody else but who he is in every single match that he's played, including this one. So, look, it is what it is, and I understand if people don't care for that. I get it, but also, like, relax. It's okay. He's not the only player in the league. You know, there's other players you can choose, you know, root for and whatnot. And there's other matches. And oh, by the way, Marisol won this match, so let's not take that away from her. You
Absolutely.
know? And so,
and it seemed to enjoy every minute of it. You could tell the whole time. Like, she pulls her board up to stop from laughing.
Yes, yeah.
Like, she made me laugh harder. You know, like there's something to be said for, like, you know, like the contagion of laughter, and there's something like inherently, like, Kevin Smith doing Kevin Smith shit is funny. Marisol and Mckee going like, you know, away from it makes it funnier. You know, it was a good time. Like, this is the same sport where, like, the whole crowd goes ape shit over Meryl Streep.
Right.
Like, these are one of those things that, like, there is a healthy level of seriousness with which to take it. and it's that like completely unabashed, like I friggin' love this thing level of seriousness. We're like, it's Kevin Smith. He's riffing. He's having a good time.
Right.
Like, whenever he got drafted, I was like, oh, this is going to be so funny. This is going to be great. You know, like, don't go into Kevin Smith. Like, you're not going to get, you know, like ice cold focus, you know, like you're going to get with like Chance.
Right.
Like, you're just setting yourself up to be disappointed with that. And again, it's funny. So live a little and laugh.
Yeah.
Turds.
I think I said this on Rundown, that Kevin Smith reminds me very much of the 2014, 2015 vibe of like, let's just walk in here, have a good time. You know, like a Josh McCouga, as you pointed out, you know, like that type of vibe. And I appreciate that. And we need that in the league. And if one of those players just so happens to make a number contender match or a title match, you know, so be it. And I think that's even better, you know, for the game if they're able to make it to that route. However you want to, you know, comment about how he got there or whatever. It is what it is. But
yeah.
So I enjoy all of that, and we're going to see more of that. And people will, as we move away from the imbalance of sport to entertainment in the Schmoedown, it's going to become more 50-50. So I am prepared to see more people be like, what's this? You know, this doesn't make any sense, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, I just have to be like, A, either just tune it out, or B, be like, hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
I hope you stick with it, because I think you might be on board with it. But if not, you know, I got nothing for you. I hope you stick around. I hope you can find it enjoyable the way that I do and others do. But at the end of the day, you know, I can't, you know, the Schmoedown's going to be what it's going to be. And if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, you know, thanks for coming by.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I will also say, taking the McCouga comparison one step further before we move on to the last match, not a diss on McCouga. This isn't even a diss to, like, Finstock or any other characters
right
within the league. I think it's fun to see a goofy personality who's, like, really good.
Yeah.
You know, not like I'm good with Sly and Arnie in sports movies, and then other than that, you know, I'm down Schitt's Creek type player. You know, and again, that's nothing against anybody who has ever fit that mold, but like, it's funny to see somebody who can't stop joking, who can't stop getting laughs out of everybody on screen, who's also just scoring a point while they're bullshitting. It's like Travis said, it's that drunken master shit. That it's fun to watch. You know, like the savant idiot type bit is really fun.
Right.
And I think we could use more.
I mean, that's why people love the Lon Harris character, the Delinquent. I mean, we all know, but beforehand, he was very good. And now he plays this character of like, I just got here. I have a match today, you know, that type of thing. People love that character, and it's a character, but when it's a little too real, then it's like, oh, well, they're tarnishing the game. And it's like, it's really the same thing. It's just different approaches, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, again, like there's like I said, there's a level of like unabashed love, and I think beyond just like honor and sport, there's nothing that's really sacrosanct. You know, of like play with it, have fun with it, goof around. As long as you're not being a horrible sport, and you're not playing dishonorably, it's movie trivia pro wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, Kevin Smith's all right in our book, but I'm glad Marisol is our number one contender. We said the name of the show. Show's over now. Moving on to our last match. Oh, well, will you look at that? We're out of time. Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's been a great time.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
No, yeah, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to start here. Frank, you put it great earlier when you were talking about Saul, where it was that like, oh no, like drop, where it was like, I don't like where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
And that was me during Corruptions round 2. They spun.
Yeah.
They got inner geekdom. I was like, oh, that round 1 left me a little perturbed. Use that as the word of the day, perturbed by round 1. They spun IG. I was really happy. And then Devourer of Worlds happened. And I was, I'll put it this way. I've always said the Schmoedown is my sport. Like, I never understood loving sports until I got really into the Schmoedown. And I was like, oh, this is what this feels like. And I think this is the first time I like ever had that feeling of like, I love my team so much that I'm like really disappointed in play, like as a fan, not to the point where like, I'm going to be some bum who's harassing Chance or Mike or Shannon on the internet. Obviously not. They're incredible people and don't deserve that. And, they live their own lives. That'd be absurd to do it. But I cannot I was like visibly upset during round 2, and Travis can vouch for that, where I was just like, oh, I cheer them on so hard that watching that hurt me.
So I have to ask, because I got spoiled for both Belton matches, right? I happened to open Twitter at exactly the moments that both of those matches ended, so I knew the outcomes before we watched it, which is my own fault, and I'm not upset at all. Did it tip you off more or less that when they spun Inner Geekdom, I was like, oh, cool.
I honestly...
Because as the guy rooting for Shazam knowing the outcome, that had to mean something to you.
I was honestly just so drawn in that I was just like, all right, this is a good category. I'm sure Mike knows a lot of things about Galactus. We're like, that's kind of where I was
a giant cloud.
He's a giant cloud. I was just, I wish I had an answer for you because what you said was very funny. But I was just so drawn in. And again, that's one of the reasons why I love Mike as a player so much is during his post game, like the quickness with which he was like, I shit the bed. That wasn't acceptable for me. Yeah. He's like, I have this belt. That was not acceptable. Like that, that's why he's my favorite. Because that's his work ethic as a player. Like he's just my favorite, like between the persona and his actual ethic as a competitor. But man, was that round 2 upsetting to watch. And like they rallied. Chance saved the goddamn day in the speed round. Chance came out like a bat out of hell during the speed round and took him into sudden death. And at that point, I was like, look, my boys fought to the bitter end. And maybe Shazam gets a 51-50 off of this. And I was like, you know what? If that's how it ends, I'll live with it. I'll be fine because they fought to the bitter end. And that's the way I like to watch these guys go out if they go out. But holy hot damn, that round 2 was rough. And just really disappointing. From 2 people who are just powerhouses in the IG. Just Devourer of Worlds. Like that was the one where my jaw was in my lap. Where I was like, that was a layup, man.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to harp. That's one of the things I'm horrible about with like trying to do a Schmoedown show is that like I want to be like a commentator and critique it, but also like I know that all of these people are just really nice people and I don't want to be mean to them.
Yeah.
Especially the ones I'm a big
I've been dealing with it for years. So
yeah, I know. I'll never know how to like properly do it and not sound like a dickhead. But I will pitch to you, Frank, on your thoughts on this one.
Look, first round went kind of how I thought it might go. Not exactly that Shazam would get double perfect first rounds again and continue their answer streak from their last title match into this one, which I think they got all the way up to the 5. They almost in this 2 match. They almost went 2 complete matches without missing a question, right? But that first round, double perfect first round for Shazam. Mike once again gets 6 points. Chance goes perfect, right? It keeps them within somewhat striking distance. And then that second round, when they get that interdictum slice, I go, okay, we're gonna have a match here. This is when it's gonna be a slugfest, and it was going that way as they continued to answer in that round. And then was it the final 2 questions? I think it was where they just gave up a total of 3 points to Shazam. I'm gonna go, oh no, this could get real ugly. And then it proceeded to get ugly as Shazam.
I said something like oh no, but a much more explicit version of it.
Yeah. This was the way these first 2 rounds unfolded is exactly how Shazam has asserted its dominance over its opponents. And it was very similar actually to the way Shazam played Corruption the first time. Going, though, into that second round, though, the one question that everyone keeps talking about, fans and players alike, and even that day in the studio, was the what lies beneath question that Brendan Meyer goes, it's Miranda Otto. Without any multiple choice, just straight up cold, like, Miranda Otto's the answer, Bibbs. And he was like, all right. And I got to tell you, I was right next to Ben Bateman. And when they answer Miranda Otto, I look over to Bateman, and he's like, what the hell? How do you? And if you watch backstage too, the other day, he brings it up again. He was just like, how do you know that? And Brendan had the story of he started listening to Blank Check, Griffin Newman's podcast. Yeah, and they were talking about What Lies Beneath the movie. So he was like, I'm gonna go watch that movie, and so I can follow along with this podcast episode. And that's the reason why he knows Miranda Otto, because he saw the movie about a week before this match. So Miranda Otto was still fairly fresh in his mind, and then listening to that podcast, right? So it was just one of those strange coincidences that happened to be pretty pivotal, really, in this match, and it was just as impressive. Brendan, talks about when you prepare for the Schmoedown, you can go through the IMDb, the Wikipedia, and all of that, and study it. But then there's also the component of preparing for the Schmoedown through the love of movies. And he knew that answer because he loves movies, because he was listening to a podcast, right, that made him want to go watch the movie. And you do that out of love of movies. And so I thought, like, that's one of the more special moments of the season for me, is to witness that and the story behind how he got that answer. It wasn't because he memorized the cast list for that movie, through IMDb, which is 100% of, like, that. You should be doing that stuff. If you want to compete at a high level, you should be doing that stuff. But at the same time, this all started. There's something for the special about it,
because it was like a just happenstance. Yeah,
exactly. It was all because the Schmoedown started because everyone involved back in 2014 loved movies. We wanted, have this little fun competition. It was out of love and pure fun. And for him to pull that answer out of the love of movies, I thought it was just a really great kind of anecdote in this match that I know I'm going to remember this one, that specific question. I'm going to remember that one for a long time, because the way Shazam has been playing, and then he pulls this answer, and you're just like, how in the hell? And then they're up by 9 points after the first 2 rounds. I was like, they're incredible. They're incredible, and I know they're incredible because Corruption is a really good team, and they're down by 9 points after the first 2 rounds. Because if this was a 3-round match, they're getting knocked out silly, Luckily for them, in a sense, Corruption, at least in that moment, it wasn't. And the betting round, the speed round was phenomenal, obviously from Chance. Bibbs answered that first question though, right, in the speed round, and I go, oh, is Shazam gonna knock out Corruption? I mean, because at that point, I think they pumped it back up to a 9-point lead because they were down.
It was it was 8.
It was 8
because Shazam went up 2, 3 for Corruption. So
So then I was like, oh man, we got a few questions in here. We could be looking at. Are you kidding me? But then Chance was like, "Fuck you, Frank. I'm taking care of this." Man, he was incredible. And it saved them enough to eventually get to sudden death because Bibbs and Brendan couldn't pull that Coco question, and that happens from time to time. Teams miss fives. Not corruption, obviously.
That's the second 5 I've ever gotten in singles.
Oh, nice.
Similar to Brendan Meyer, it's only because I watched Coco like 2 months ago for the
there
first
you go.
time.
Yeah.
I was giggling with glee because he was like, "Is it a piano? Is it a big guitar?" I'm like, "Yeah, William, yeah, Beast.
Yeah.
It is a big guitar. Say big guitar. Say big guitar, Bill."
We went into round 5, and you were like, "Oh, it's over. It's over." And I'm like, "This isn't easy." I didn't know. All I knew was Shazam won. And I'm like, "This isn't easy."
You didn't know
He's like,
how.
"What do you mean?" I'm like, "They just have to miss their 5. Like, everyone misses 5s.
Yeah. And sudden death, I was like, as good as Shazam is with like those first type of round questions, you get first and like second round and even like 3-pointer type of questions in sudden death these days, especially for a title match. I was like, I don't know. I still, odds are my money's still on Shazam ever so slightly, but man, corruption could easily win this thing now because it's one slip up and you just never know.
The
That
one
that
everybody
they all
missed,
got
we knew.
wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's small stuff like that when you look at a title match like this that was played so well in various degrees and various ways, it's the small things that you're just like, man, if this went that way or that went that way, and you can really get yourself twisted up in all these what ifs, and which is a sign of how great that match is. Because if it's just like there's no, it was always done from round 2, like. It's a great performance. Doesn't make it a great match, but this was a great match.
Yeah, It was great. Like I said, I love my boys, so that's why I was a little upset. But phenomenal play from everybody. They will have an opportunity in a teams tournament, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Like I said before the show, Travis and I are still a little scatterbrained as to what the shit these tournaments look like.
Not quite to that degree, but it sounds.
We have no idea, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, singles, they have, like, most. I assume they have the majority of it done. It's just, like, the last 2 matches on this side.
They have
are so up in the air.
They have a fairly good idea, but we're just waiting for those.
I mean, we've already gotten a round of it, so.
Right.
With.
But we don't know where exactly they're placed at. In terms of quadrants and stuff like that, yeah. I think they know, but they're not going to release an incomplete one
until it's ready.
Right.
Naturally. Real quick before we wrap up, we didn't talk about how we want to see the singles #1 contender and whom we want to see play. Frank, I give you the floor first, sir.
Yeah, so she's going to have to play Dan or Ethan, and that match goes down this Friday, the 6th, August 6th. So that's a pay-per-view on the channel. And I think if you're not a patron at the $10 level, the stream is like $4.99. Get it? Because that's a Cantina match. That's the first Cantina match that we're going to see. And I guess we could call it the Cantina series because we're going to have like 8 matches filmed at the Cantina. So it's really cool. I've seen some of this. How it looks already, and I think everyone's going to really love how it comes out, just as they did with the Collision. But, when I had Marisol on the rundown, I asked, like, I don't know if you have a preference, but, like, what do you think about both of these players, And she had her reasons for both. Obviously, Dan's the GOAT and standard of excellence, but Ethan, he's just, like, a crazy encyclopedia of movie knowledge, and it's like, and he's playing really well right now, especially when you factor in like his team matches, right? So
yeah.
But Dan's been playing great as well. When you look at his two wins thus far in singles, I mean, he's like answering like 92% of his questions. Like he's playing ridiculous, especially like in those title match formats. He always plays well in those. And who do I would want Marisol to play Dan. That's what I would want to see. I mean, I would like to see. I kind of want her to see Ethan. I would like to see play Ethan as well, just because I think for the representation of the league and what it means. And also, he's just like on another level this year as well. And so to have Marisol said this too, playing them at their peaks. And right now they're at their peaks, both of these guys, Merle and Ethan, in terms of their singles play. And it's a win. It's a win for us, whoever she plays, because she's going to get an incredible player who's just like at peak powers right now.
Yeah. Just for like the clout of it, I think it looks. I mean, obviously, like if Marisol can beat either of these guys,
yeah,
like that is a legendary play for her. Like the ability to, like, in the same way that like Adam Collins, I think, was made like an instant legend by being able to beat Dan Merle and outfight him.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same can be said for Marisol, that if she's able to, and again, I think that happens either way, but like Dan Merle's like Schmoedown Superman.
Yeah.
Like there is a feat unto itself of like any type of beat, escaped, outmaneuvered, outfought, outplanned, whatever. In comic book land, where you're talking about, well, this person was able to blank against Superman. Like, that's already such a big check mark on their record, right? That they could do that. It's the same thing with Dan Merle. You did something against Superman. You pulled it off against him. And he's just become this, like, myth. That, like, I think it's more impressive and it's a bigger notch in your belt to take out Dan Merle. Just because of the legendary legacy that he has. Ethan Irwin, it's an equally hard fight, like there's no version of that that's an easy win. Dan Merle or Ethan Irwin rather, I'm making this comic book reference. Like I think like with Ethan Irwin and Dan Merle, like if Dan Merle's Superman, Ethan Irwin's Batman, where it's that like, like he doesn't feel like this like insurmountable god, but he'll cross your shit up.
Sure.
Like he's gonna take your lunch from you,
right,
just because there's not this like weird legend around him because he hasn't been around as long as Dan. That like there's no easy win here. It's just that Dan Merle has slightly more clout as the GOAT.
Yes. Yeah.
So I want to see her play against and hopefully beat Merle.
I think
if
we'll
any
agree
of that
with that.
Comparison makes any sense.
Sure.
At all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, between the two, my two factions are the Mercs in the dungeon, so like I want Dan to keep the belt.
Yeah.
I will say, and maybe I'll get into more of this on Saturday when we have our not collision episode. I think depending on how he does in Inner Geekdom, I think Ethan Irwin has like a very non-zero chance of being our first triple belted player. Like when I saw him in the Inner Geekdom bracket, first thought was Ethan Irwin is the first triple belted player. Very possibly.
Whoa.
I'm making a big call here. I think the slow shift in questioning for singles and non-Inner Geekdom in Star Wars, it really benefits Ethan Irwin because of like where his knowledge seems to lie. That the question shifting of more about who is interacting, like who plays, who directs, what year, what like that's stuff that he's so well versed in because it's his life that's how he's become such a powerhouse this year, right? That I think again, he has to prove himself against Parker and Chance and whoever else comes out of the Inner Geekdom tournament. But I think that he has a very real chance. And that's, again, I love my boys. Boys. I'm terrified of Ethan Irwin.
Yeah.
And I think if Ethan beats Dan, it will then be an even more impressive fight if she beats Ethan.
Interesting.
to me.
Yeah.
And
I know what you mean by your logic makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah, I like what you're saying there. I didn't think about it that way, but when I hear it, I go, oh, yeah, that's yeah. I mean, like either way. I mean, like Marisol is
honestly,
like,
you could see this.
Life.
You can say the same thing about Oyama.
Yeah,
right? If Oyama's playing in singles, right, he has that free card where if he cranks it out in Intergeekdom, he gets there in the I don't remember where he's at in teams where like final exams hanging right now.
Final exam and lightning time. Yeah, he's got to face Ethan in that.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's it.
That's right.
And then again, like he has to face Ethan again for
he's really building a rivalry with Ethan at this point.
But yeah, I think Ethan has a real chance of ending up triple belted by the end of the year.
You know what? Double belted, sure. I cannot see in any freaking way Ethan Irwin can snag an Intergeekdom belt, whether it's off of Chandru, off of Kalinowski, off of Parker, off of if it's he's just not going to be there.
It'll take some Kalinowski level luck. Where
more than that, double dose Kalinowski luck.
Oh yeah, 2 years ago when he made that singles run, spinning Bond every game. He does do that. Spin TMNT every game. It's easy.
There you go. Or Star Trek. Yeah.
Or Star Trek.
That was in such a great block of games.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
She can still win this. She can still win this.
But yeah, I think I want it to be Dan. I love Dan. He's one of my favorite players. I'm terrified of Ethan Irwin.
I do agree with Frank that I'm not my bet for how this IG tournament plays out. I
wouldn't bet
Irwin.
I wouldn't say it's the most likely outcome. I'm saying it's a very not impossible outcome.
It's very not impossible, and I like where I agree with Frank that I don't think he will. I also think that one need only look at last year's Intergeekdom tournament where everybody's bracket got shot in the face by Chance beating Parker, and the fact that we watched Andres Cabrera go from play-in to elbow dropping people. So while I don't think he will, and for obvious biases, I'm pulling for Chance. Fucking spoiler alert. Ethan Irwin scares me too. Like I'm not quite as scared for my guys of Irwin, but like he's a threat. He's a monster.
If Ethan gets past Paul, then he's got to play Parker. So game over.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Ethan's not getting past Parker. There's just no way. There's no way for everything I've heard. Like, because I was talking to Amaru about this on Rundown. How he views Ethan, and he's like, if this is last year, I give him no shot. I mean, he's got some shot. He's got a shot now with like Alien and Predator, and Indiana Jones more prevalent. Other movies that are like other franchises that he knows really well. He's got a shot, but like against Parker, I'll give him like 2% chance against Parker if he makes it there. I give him a 50-50 shot against Paul, but like these guys are so also locked in terms of singles and teams. Like they're popping into Intergeekdom based out of kind of a necessity, not because they want to, I think.
Yeah, I remember when we had Chance on here, he was talking about he was like, "Oh, I don't really know if I'm going to be doing IG, kind of like waffling on it." And at this point, after Corruption not having a double victory the way they kind of needed to at Collision. Yeah, Mike needs to fight like hell to keep that belt, and Chance, we need to create a situation where Chance plays him for it, and it's, pardon my hiccups, guaranteed points. And with Ethan Irwin going into the IG tournament, again, Star Wars bias with that kind of thing. And you can do like the equivalent question to whatever fandom or franchise. I can't see like Ethan Irwin naming members of the Jedi Council You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
Like, look at the Star Wars match where it's like Aegon Kolar. Does Ethan Irwin know who Aegon Kolar is?
I don't even know who he is.
I don't think he does. He's the one with the blue lightsaber that Palpatine stabs in the chest in episode 3.
I got you.
Who has a green and a blue lightsaber in the same hilt. And that's why Laura Kelly and Demolanta missed that question, because he knew he had blue and Sith. But has during the Battle of Geonosis. Like, it's one of those things. And like, again, you know, he has this massive wealth of movie knowledge. You know, you can argue as to what's more impressive. Like, how many like West Coast Avengers can you name? How many members of the Jedi Council? How many Robins do you know? Versus like, general movie.
I feel like Robins is easy though. I just realized that wasn't a real movie question.
Yeah, neither is the West Coast Avengers. Like, I was just more gesturing at the fact
never even right over my head. The other caveat to that bold claim I just made is I'm known for making very big guesses that when you think about it, you go, wow, that is really plausible. And then they don't pay off. Just look at the Snyder Cut, Jarod.
Yeah. I mean, but we can also point to our predictions here, and we completely covered up Frank. But you know, you got me good. There he is. There's his handsome buck. But you blew me out on this one. I can't.
I did get them all right. The coin did not fail me.
You got
You coin flipped all of those?
No, I coin flipped Demolanta Kelly.
Oh, okay. I was like, damn.
Yeah,
That's
no. Everything else was either biased
or that's a nice coin.
It was either biased or a decent call, and then I got to the Star Wars, and I'm like, God, I don't know.
And it was a coin flip for sure.
But yeah, phenomenal collision. You know, the season continues. Like I said before, my opinion, I think this is my favorite season of the Schmoedown so far. Things will be changing. We will be talking about the potential changes and the tournaments and this week's set of matches all on the Saturday episode. But until then, this is the collision recap, and been honored by Frankie Numbers. Frank, where can the lovely people find you and all that you do, my friend? Oh, and also final thoughts on the collision.
Final thoughts on collision. Just it's a great starting point for what we're going to do in studio, in person with these matches, and going forward. I'm really excited to see us continue to really build out the production and the value that you guys are going to get with all these matches. And it's tournament season, so you know these matches are going to be crazy. With that all said, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at FrankieJ29 and on the Schmoedown Rundown every Thursday evening, 6 p.m. PT on the Movie Trivia Schmoedown YouTube channel.
Yes, indeed they can. I love the two official after shows, because you get two very different vibes, and I love them both for that. It makes me happy. I like a very fun clean cut numbers, it's fan analysis with the players coming on, and a very boots on the ground appraisal of stuff with backstage. I love both. Second time Frank's.
I mean, Marshall's better, obviously, but yeah, backstage's all right.
I love them both. I love hearing from both. Like I said, we still have to do an episode where we send Travis on to Rundown, as loyal listener Rob Filkins once said, because we did a Jarod Frank episode of Number One Contender.
That's right.
So now there needs to be a Travis Brad episode of Rundown.
That would be that could be arranged. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you again very much, Frank. Our pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Travis, where can the lovely people find you, brother?
Running to the bathroom very quickly after I give my ats, because I have to pee. At Travis Political, Twitter and Instagram. That's it.
Okay, you want me to bump you?
No, you don't have to bump me. I'll just mute myself and come back.
Okay, have fun. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where, if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Case and Brion, the Waffle Wizard, Delta 9, Zach and House, Michael Armburst, and Jarod the Light Sith. We have a patron who changes their name monthly. This is their second month of patronage. Their first month, their name was Never Gonna Give You Up, Never Gonna Let You Down, Never Gonna Run Around or Desert You, Never Gonna Make You Cry, Never Gonna Say Goodbye. They had the whole ass chorus in the name. And after interacting with them and them hearing a joke on our main show about how, speaking of Loki, they must be a variant of me to be going in for such a for a joke like that. They then changed their name to Jarod the Light Sith as opposed to Jarod the Dark Jedi. It's also spelled Jerrod as opposed to Jarod. Yeah. This patron is I don't know who it is, and I've said before that I know personally or know of all of our $10 patrons except for this individual, and I am very entertained by the chase as to who this might be. Although Alexis has said I am not allowed to try to investigate who it is, so I am not going to actively investigate. But any clues they leave me, I will be trying to connect dots on. But yeah, thank you to our $10 alumnus. Be sure to consider the $5 tier on the Patreon, where you get access to the Nerd Academy Movie Club audio commentaries. Indiana Jones month is starting up, so expect some indie audio commentaries in your feed very soon, starting with Raiders of the Lost Ark, probably tomorrow. Tomorrow at time of record. So today, when you hear this, if you're a $5 patron or above. Knights of the Nerd Republic versus series. We're doing Darth Malak versus Mace Windu this month, and Heroic History 101. Be sure to take a look at the student store link to check out our TeePublic. I believe TeePublic is running a sale at time of upload still, so you can get some Nerd Academy merch at a reduced rate. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. Watch the rundown, smash cancer, and thank you all for listening. Oh, wait. I clicked off of the cookie cup.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar.